This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. It's a crackdown on car racing, dangerous driving and squealing tires. One night in September, Winnipeg police handed out 65 tickets. They call it Project Stunt Driving. The CBC's Felicia Adams shows you what police caught on camera.
You can see a motorcycle driving 189 kilometers an hour in a 30K zone. The road it's driving on is for buses only. Here, someone is on the hood of an SUV while the driver goes 120 kilometers an hour. These are some of the videos shared by Winnipeg police.
Do I think it's going to ultimately stop this behavior? Absolutely not. But we have to do our part.
Their part is called Project Stunt Driving. Complaints about dangerous driving and street racing overnight are what's behind the project. Councillor Evan Duncan says he gets calls every day, with even more on the weekends because of cruise night.
Let's make one thing clear here. It's not all cruise night goers. It's the idiots that sit in the parking lots along Portage Avenue that are revving their engines, that are ripping down Portage Avenue, that don't care about anybody but their cars and themselves.
The two cars in this video are doing donuts and circling a security vehicle in a parking lot. In this one, you can see a truck going in circles.
That's a 2,200 kilogram piece of metal that's spinning around at high velocity next to people standing on a roadway. The danger is huge there.
The project started in May. By September, police were able to set up a checkpoint in the RM of Rosser where 88 cars had gathered. 65 tickets were handed out. They range from squealing tires to careless driving.
Through these videos, we've educated people that if you're participating on riding on a car hood or driving 189 kilometers an hour in a motorcycle, that's probably not a good idea. Someone is going to seriously get hurt and hopefully not lose their life.
Police tell us there have been 22 fatal crashes this year in Winnipeg, and even if stunt driving isn't to blame, police are hopeful that this project will make the roads safer. Felicia Adams, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Meantime, the driver in a high-profile dangerous driving incident has pleaded guilty. Beckham Severite was behind the wheel when he killed a cyclist on Wellington Crescent this summer. Now he's admitted to going at least 3 times the speed limit at the time of the crash. CBC's Caitlin Gowerluck was in court today and has the latest.
The BMW that hit and killed 61-year-old Rob Jenner in June was going more than triple the speed limit. That's according to a collision reconstruction analyst who reviewed the scene of the fatal crash on Wellington Crescent and determined 19-year-old Severite was going at least 159 kilometers per hour in a 50-kilometer zone. It was part of the agreed facts read in court as Severite pleaded guilty. Court heard he only had his learner's permit at the time. Severite tried to avoid the crash but lost control of the vehicle because of how fast he was going. Witnesses said Jenner was thrown no less than 10 feet into the air before his body landed just off the road. Severite will be sentenced at a later date. Caitlin Gowerluck, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The search for the remains of 2 First Nations women at a Winnipeg area landfill will soon get underway. The province says excavators have started moving material at the Prairie Green landfill in the hopes of bringing home Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron. And a warning, this story contains details some viewers may find distressing. CBC's Josh Crabb is in the newsroom with more details now. Josh.
Excavation of the top layers of landfill material has begun. Construction of a facility where material will be searched by hand is underway, and the interview process to hire searchers is happening too. Heavy machinery could be seen in the distance moving landfill material from an area about the size of 4 football fields. Family members of the women and reporters got a look at the site as Premier Wab Kinew, the Assembly of Manitoba chiefs and provincial officials gave an update. Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron and 2 other women, Rebecca Contois and Mushkade Bishake Ekwe-Ibon, were murdered by serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky, who's serving 4 concurrent life sentences. Harris's and Myron's remains are believed to be in the landfill. Cambria Harris says her family is grateful. The humanitarian search is starting more than 2 years after her mother Morgan was killed.
And these searchers are tasked with a very real task, and that's hopefully providing closure to our grief of our loved ones. It's been 2 years now that my mom's been laying in a landfill, as well as Mercedes Myron, and that's 2 years too long, and I'm excited to finally be getting this on the way.
This asphalt pad and concrete blocks will form the foundation for a covered and heated search facility. Work is underway to hire 24 search technicians to make up 2 teams to go through the excavated material. New hydro lines, new roads, and a cultural space for families have also been added to the landfill. The top layer of landfill material above the targeted search zone being moved right now is about 4 meters deep. Amna Mackin is an assistant deputy minister and project management lead for the landfill search. Mackin says that work began last week.
And these materials are being set aside in a dedicated area of an adjacent cell and will be temporarily covered for possible searching at a later date.
So Josh, we learned a bit more about what this next stage will look like. Can you break that down for us?
Yes, the next stage of the search will involve searching 3 meters deeper, which is where the remains of Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris are believed to be. Mackin says that phase could start in early December. If their remains aren't where experts believe they are, an additional 3 meters could be excavated, and a search of the top 4 meters of landfill material that is currently being removed right now could also take place. Premier Wab Kinew had a message for the women's families.
And I hope that as you see the progress that's been brought here today, that it brings you some measure of healing.
Families and leaders also acknowledged the late Kathy Merrick, the former Grand Chief of the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, who fought hard for this search. Brittany.
All right, thank you. That's CBC's Josh Crabb this evening. Winnipeg police say officers had to shoot and kill a dog in the interest of public safety. It came after 4 people, including a teen, were attacked by the roaming dog and left with serious injuries. The CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more, and again, a warning, this story has details that may be upsetting.
A 16-year-old girl suffered the worst of the attack. She needed a tourniquet to stop the bleeding and was taken to hospital by ambulance for serious upper body injuries. Now, police say a 48-year-old woman, a 67-year-old man, and a 73-year-old man were also injured, but were able to get themselves to hospital.
We have 4 individuals that suffered some serious injuries as a result of this large dog, and for them that's going to be a traumatic event that they may need to deal with on an ongoing basis.
Police say when officers arrived, some bystanders had already corralled the dog. On Wednesday, police said they had to shoot the dog to stop the threat to public safety, as it was still displaying very aggressive behavior. Constable Claude Chancey says calls for loose animals don't often end like this.
We do get those calls quite often, believe it or not. It's very rare that this type of incident has occurred where multiple people are injured and resulting in the death of the animal as a necessity.
Police say there are no criminal charges pending, but Animal Services will continue the investigation and may find it necessary to charge the dog's owner. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A pause on new licenses allowing a range of businesses to sell marijuana has been extended. The Manitoba government suspended issuing new controlled access cannabis licenses earlier this year. It would allow businesses that sell other products to also sell pot, as long as it's kept out of reach of minors. Melanie Bakavich, Vice President of the Retail Cannabis Council of Manitoba, supports extending the pause. She says the licenses were meant to serve rural and northern communities, not urban areas.
I don't think there's any shortage of access in Winnipeg. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be some access to controlled access in smaller in northern communities, just as that licensing category was how it was intended to be utilized.
Last week, the finance minister extended the pot license pause until December 1st, 2025. Bring in weather specialist Riley Laychuk now. And Riley, again, another one of those mornings with the cold hands, cold fingers, and then a pretty beautiful afternoon.
Exactly. After yesterday's falling temperatures through the day, you're probably saying something like, it's a little bit more like it based on our temperatures through the afternoon hours today. 13 is where we got to in Winnipeg. I was forecasting 11 this afternoon. 15s back to the southwest. You can start to see another ridge in the jet stream building. That's allowing some of that warm southerly air to begin to build into parts of southern Manitoba. Through the northern parts of the province, we have seen some clouds start to build in today. 3 degrees in Thompson, -2 this afternoon in Churchill. I mentioned that ridge in the jet stream, and you can start to see that being defined behind right here, right across southern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario. That's going to hold our pattern in place over the next several days here, and we're expecting pretty much the same. I'm saying rinse and repeat minus the winds as we get into the weekend. So we'll see the winds start to die off overnight tonight. -1, a mostly clear sky in Winnipeg, waking up to a 1 degree high first thing in the morning, a mostly clear sky as well. And into the afternoon, more partly cloudy. I'm calling it a sun-cloud mix for the afternoon tomorrow. Winds a lot more light than they were today. We did see some of those gusts up to 40 through the afternoon hours. West at 15. Brittany, temperatures like this continuing as we get into your long range. I'll have that coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right, not too shabby. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Coming up, claims of a bribe being paid to the former head of Winnipeg's public service. That came out in court. Bartley Kivas will break down what was said after the break. Stay with us. A former broker for Shindico Realty testified in court today. He claims he's seen documents indicating the company president paid a bribe to the former head of Winnipeg's public service. CBC's Bartley Kivas has the story.
John Pearson worked with Shindico Realty on big box developments for 22 years. He's suing Shindico's president and vice president for $5 million over the breakdown of their business partnership. Pearson said in a statement of claim he entered a brokerage association with Shindico in 2022, partly because of what he called negative media attention on Schindelman President Sandy Schindelman and Vice President Robert Schindelman. Pearson also claimed in the statement the Schindelmans were alleged to be involved in political corruption. Pearson said the Schindelman brothers froze him out of a partnership after he ended the brokerage association. In a statement of defense, the Schindelmans said they never had a partnership with Pearson that required all three parties to agree on a decision. They also denied Pearson's claim about corruption. Today's the third day of the trial. During cross-examination, Pearson testified he's seen evidence of something wrong involving former Winnipeg CAO Phil Shiegel. In preparing for this trial, I saw documents that were produced that indicate that Sandy Schindelman gave a bribe to Phil Shiegel of $85,000. Pearson testified that according to information provided by the Schindelman's legal counsel, a company owned by Shiegel received $85,000 related to a fire paramedic station in Sage Creek. Shindico helped build 4 new fire paramedic stations in Winnipeg, including station number 27 in Sage Creek. Outside court, the lawyer for the Schindelmans declined to comment on Pearson's testimony about a bribe. CBC News also reached out to Shiegel for comment but did not hear back. In 2022, a judge found Shiegel accepted a $327,000 bribe from the main contractor on Winnipeg's police headquarters. Shiegel appealed that civil decision and lost in 2023. The trial between Pearson and the Schindelmans is slated to last as long as 2 more weeks. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Prairie Mountain Health's mobile clinic has been rolling into remote communities for 10 years. This week, the clinic was in Birdtail Sioux First Nation. CBC's Chelsea Kemp has the story.
Andrea Shappy is getting her blood pressure checked. She's in a mobile clinic parked right by her office in her Birdtail Sioux First Nation, almost 2 hours northwest of Brandon. Shappy says having a nurse come to her saves her time and cuts down on stress.
The ERs they're not always open, so we have to I've gone as far as Brandon sometimes with one of my kids. And then you sit in the ER because it's not like emergent, right? So you sit there for about 5 or 6 hours waiting for care. Sometimes we give up and come home.
Shappy says her family uses the clinic all the time. They can get checkups, diagnostic tests, immunization, referrals, and baby care near their home. The mobile clinic is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Community nurse Tanya Douglas has been part of the crew for almost the entire time.
We really just see almost anything. We were initially set up to be a primary care, so see people for their regular chronic issues and stuff, which we certainly do, but we do see a lot of kind of acute presentations and really any age range.
The mobile clinic can see around 25 patients a day. Often, the weekly visits are the only form of primary care they can get in their community.
It just fills that gap. And in doing so, we try to prevent more severe illness.
The community nurse at Birdtail Health Center says there's not a doctor or nurse practitioner on site. The center is also short 2 nurses, so the mobile health clinic steps up and provides some aid.
It helps me by just not having to send people away from the community.
The retrofitted RV travels to Birdtail every Monday and visits 3 other First Nation communities every week. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Birdtail Sioux First Nation.
A 19-year-old man was seriously injured after getting hit by a car on Main Street. Investigators say it started when he'd been in a number of nearby businesses, causing a disturbance Monday just before 5 p.m. He was chased away by staff, ran into the road, and was hit by a southbound car. Police say the teen sustained serious injuries and was being helped by multiple bystanders when they arrived. The driver did stay on the scene. Riley's back now. And Riley, last time we were sitting here, we were talking about getting ready for spooky season, getting out to the haunted houses, the pumpkin patch. Going to be a pretty good week for that. Not too bad.
And very quickly, I have to say happy birthday to my mom today.
Happy birthday, Debbie.
And my dad tomorrow, actually.
Oh my
too. So
goodness. We've got it.
lots of celebrations in the Lachuk house.
So have you sent birthday presents already? Have we sent Debbie,
My presents for Thanksgiving
Oh.
is my gift.
all right, we'll take it. Happy birthday, Debbie, and happy birthday to your dad tomorrow.
And a lot of good weather ahead. If you're doing any celebrating or any outside things, I know a lot of folks probably starting to get decorations set up for Halloween as well. So some cooler nights, but certainly some nice weather for that right now. Having a look at satellite and radar, we're looking at mainly sunny skies really across the province. That ridge of high pressure that has started to build in has really cleared our skies out as we got through the day today. A little bit of cloud through northern Manitoba. Not much to worry about, but we could see a little bit of instability through parts of the north, particularly as we get through the day tomorrow. But by and large, we're keeping the clear skies as we get through the overnight hour tonight. Some of that cloud cover as a result of this area of low pressure over the territories. That's also bringing few scattered flurries along the Hudson Bay coast to places like Shamattawa through the Churchill region today. Through into the morning hours on Thursday, mainly sunny skies to start. There's not a lot to talk about, particularly through southern Manitoba as we get into the next several days at least. Maybe a little bit of instability. This particular forecast model wants to put some rain showers in through parts of central and western Manitoba. I think if there is a risk of that, it's a very slim chance if that. By and large, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds through tomorrow. Where we have the best chance of some precipitation, though, is through parts of the north. Some either wet flurries or some rain showers, really temperature dependent through northern Manitoba, because temperatures will really be on the edge of the freezing mark as we get through the next few days. Friday, we're back to a mainly sunny sky once again. Winds calm down as well, so we're looking at very calm conditions and very sunny conditions even as we head into the weekend for pretty much all of Manitoba and into northwestern Ontario as well. So weekend is looking good if you have any outdoor activities planned. Snowfall, if we could see some real trace amounts over the next couple of days or so through parts of northern Manitoba. I'm talking in that 1 centimeter, maybe even just a trace for places like Churchill into Shamattawa. Again, a lot of this melting on contact as we get through into the next couple of days as we see temperatures really kind of ebbing and flowing here. So look at some of our afternoon temperatures for tomorrow. Winnipeg, Brandon, both at 11 degrees. Around the freezing mark for places like Thompson, that's where we could see some of those rain showers changing over to flurries through the afternoon hours tomorrow. And as we get into your long-range forecast, we keep the sunshine and 11 degrees tomorrow in Winnipeg after morning low of -1 tomorrow. Friday, Brittany, we're at 10 degrees and mainly sunny sky. And temperatures like these into the weekend staying around until we get into next week as well. Could turn the page as we get to the middle part of next week, but we'll deal with that when the time comes.
We'll look at that next week.
Exactly.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, warming the souls of those in need, one sock at a time. Every year, Main Street Project launches a drive to collect socks called Socktober. Main Street Project says as winter approaches, footwear becomes even more important for people who are homeless. Last year, 50,000 pairs of socks were donated. This year, they hope 30,000 pairs of new socks will be donated. Various sock drop-off locations have been set up around town. You can also drop off those socks right at Main Street Project. Much more to come right after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is under more pressure than ever before to step down, and it's coming from inside his own party. Now those trying to oust Trudeau have given him an ultimatum. Ashley Burke reports.
The Liberal Party is strong and united.
The party may be united, but not necessarily behind its current leader.
We need change, but
Liberal MP Wayne Long among those calling on Justin Trudeau to step down.
Liberal Party is an institution in this country. It's bigger than one person, one leader.
He's among 24 Liberal MPs who sources say signed a letter calling on Trudeau to go. And that today an MP read out a document at caucus that says Trudeau has until Monday to decide if he'll leave.
Do you think the Prime Minister should stay?
It's not up to me. It's up to him.
The Prime Minister will make a decision, and he will, whatever the decision is, we will stand behind him.
During that private meeting, Liberal MPs say as many as 20 of their colleagues voiced concerns about the Prime Minister, while others stood behind him.
We heard a lot. Over, I'd say 50 or so people spoke. We heard every angle, every aspect of this. And what it's left us with is something to go away and think about.
Liberal MPs told CBC News the Prime Minister listened and said he would reflect on what caucus told him. But Trudeau told his MPs he wasn't convinced he had to go.
He's quite clear about his intentions, and I don't expect those to change.
My colleagues need to turn the knives outwards and not inwards, and we need to focus on the most important thing, which is getting things done here in Parliament and taking the fight to Pierre Poilievre, because he's a disaster for this country.
The Conservatives seizing on the Liberal division as ammunition against Trudeau.
His caucus is revolting. Will he call a carbon tax election today?
Once Trudeau tells his MPs what he's deciding to do, those trying to oust him will decide how they're going to respond. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Bank of Canada is dropping its trend-setting interest rate again. The central bank went big this time, cutting it by 0.5 percentage point rather than the usual 1/4 point. It's welcome news for anyone with a variable rate mortgage, but experts are also watching for other economic issues. CBC's Anis Hadari reports.
The Bank of Canada is picking up the pace, making a big cut to its key rate.
We took a bigger step today because inflation is now back to the 2% target, and we want to keep it close to the target.
The central bank's interest rate down by 0.5 percentage point to 3.75%, attempting to ensure the economy doesn't cool off too much.
We need demand to strengthen, take up the slack.
For one thing, lower interest rates can make mortgages cheaper, freeing up money to spend elsewhere.
I've seen a drop of around $200, $300 monthly, which adds up to my budget, and I'm able to allocate money wherein I would previously think twice.
But high rates affect more than just mortgages.
So I believe if interest rates don't go back to sustainable levels, we're going to struggle in the long run.
Well, we're not even at neutral.
Some economists say the Bank of Canada needed to move faster.
And clearly, the softening in labor market is probably a big surprise to them. The speed at which it has softened, but also the speed at which inflation has come down.
And saying they should have cut more before the U.S. election, because Americans can drastically affect Canada's economy too.
What happens in the U.S. will be a primary driver on whether or not we slow down more than what's expected in the Bank of Canada's forecast in 2025.
With economic growth already slow, the central bank will be watching how Canadians and Canadian businesses start spending before making their next decision in early December. Anis Hadari, CBC News, Calgary.
Police in Halifax are investigating a troubling incident from over the weekend. A young woman who worked in a local Walmart was found dead inside the store's bakery oven. Here's Kayla Hounsell with what we know so far.
A growing memorial for a young woman found dead inside this Halifax Walmart where she worked. She was just 19. Shockingly found inside an industrial oven in the bakery, large enough for a person to step inside.
This investigation is a very complex investigation.
Police say they were called here around 9:30 Saturday night to investigate a sudden death. They have not said whether it's believed to be criminal. Sources tell CBC News the oven does not lock. Police say the woman had been working that day. They have not released her name.
We're working with occupational health and safety, Nova Scotia medical examiners, determine the cause and manner of death.
A Walmart spokesperson says, "We are heartbroken and our deepest thoughts are with our associate and their family. We extend our sincerest condolences to those who were closest to them." The store has been closed ever since and grief counseling made available for employees. Members of the maritime Sikh community say the woman was originally from India and came to Canada 2 or 3 years ago.
It's pretty distressing that young people come here with all kind of hopes and dreams, and they are working hard, and then this is what happens.
In Halifax, rumors have been spreading online, prompting police to urge the public not to speculate, warning the investigation could take a significant amount of time.
We want to make sure that they consider the family and the co-workers.
The Nova Scotia Department of Labour says it has issued a stop work order for the bakery and one piece of equipment at this Walmart. Police have cleared the scene here but say their investigation is ongoing. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
The two candidates for U.S. president are both taking shots at each other's character now, with less than 2 weeks before voting day. The CBC's Chris Reyes has the latest.
Today, a rare middle-of-the-day appearance from Kamala Harris from outside the vice president's residence in Washington. She gave a statement reacting to Donald Trump's former chief of staff, former Marine General John Kelly, calling his ex-boss a fascist.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in.
Kelly served as White House chief of staff for Trump from 2017 to 2019. Before that, he also served as Secretary of Homeland Security. Talking to the New York Times, Kelly said Trump had admired things about Hitler.
Former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Harris did not take any questions during the brief statement. She challenged voters to use Kelly's statements to help them decide who to vote for.
The bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want?
Meanwhile, Trump continued his personal attacks against Harris as he campaigned in the battleground state of North Carolina. He railed against her recent 60 Minutes interview.
She gave an answer that was so bad that they changed it. They took the entire, it was a long, stupid, she didn't know where the hell she was going. Does she drink? Is she on drugs? I don't know. I have no idea.
Tonight, Harris will try to reach undecided voters in another critical state, Pennsylvania, in a 1 hour and 15-minute town hall hosted by CNN. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has left Israel as he continues his latest Middle East tour. Blinken has been focusing on ending Israel's war with Hamas and working out a plan for Gaza once the fighting stops. His latest efforts come as fighting between Israel and militants in Gaza and Lebanon intensifies. CBC's Sasha Petrusik has the latest.
Israel attacked the southern Lebanese city of Tyre, a port city, a very historic city, and it gave 3 hours notice for tens of thousands of Lebanese to get out of the way because it intended to carry out airstrikes targeting Hezbollah command centers that it says are in the area, in that part of the city. On the other hand, Hezbollah was firing back into Israel as well. The day started off with sirens going off in Tel Aviv, and then later other cities across the north were targeted. The Israeli military has some success in shooting down the rockets, but they did damage communities and some people were injured up there. This is all happening on the same day that Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, left Israel, leaving a message behind that the fighting really does need to stop, especially in Gaza, where his point is that Israel has made significant gains in cutting back the number of weapons and fighters that Hamas has down there, the militia group, and it's even managed to get rid of its leader, Yahya Sinwar, last week.
I believe that with Sinwar gone, because he was the primary obstacle to realizing a hostage agreement, there is a real opportunity to bring them home and to accomplish the objective.
The problem is that there are no concrete plans that the Israeli government has articulated on what will happen once the fighting stops. These Americans are pushing Israel to figure out what will happen in Gaza, who will rule Gaza if Israel succeeds in totally defeating Hamas and decimating the organization, who will feed Gazans and deliver food aid, and who will rebuild the territory. Those are all questions that Blinken left behind here in Israel. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Jerusalem.
It's a space filled with illegal activity, and it's a spot most people have never come across. Coming up, we dive deeper into the dark web and what exactly are the laws around it. Stay with us. A warning now to our viewers, the details in this next story are disturbing. It's a part of the internet you probably have never visited and can't easily access or even stumble upon. Yet many of us have been warned about its dangers. The dark web is often used as a digital cautionary tale, and it's once again in the news cycle. This time, it hits closer to home. Just last week, 2 Winnipeggers were arrested and charged with torturing and killing 10 cats. Police allege the 2 sold videos on the dark web that showed one of them crushing cats and kittens with their feet. But what exactly is the dark web, and what are the laws around it? Cybersecurity expert Mark Perot answers those questions.
For the typical public, when you browse the internet, you're browsing the internet that's indexed. So it's websites that have proper URLs like cbc.ca, for example, and they're searchable by search engine. Now, when you go below that surface or the surface part of the web, that's when you get into the deep web or the dark web, where it's only really accessible by special browsers or by VPNs or virtual private networks. So it's more difficult to access, and the websites aren't clearly indexed at all. You basically need to know where you're going to get to these different sites that reside there.
And what does reside there? Like people, we heard of what is, but is there any? Like, is it all evil all the way down, or is there some good aspects of the dark web as well?
There are some good aspects to the dark web. For repressed organizations or people, it's a place where they can safely communicate under better privacy. The dark web is far less regulated than the regular web what we're used to. So there are aspects of that, activism, that type of thing. So there are some legitimate, positive uses to it, but for the most part, a lot of it is, illegal activity and that type of thing.
So how does that work? Because it's illegal activity. Like, can you regulate? Is it possible for governments to regulate the dark web, or like how does that? How do people get away with doing these things?
So because it's not indexed, it's a lot more difficult for it to be regulated. So law enforcement agencies can pose themselves in there. They can basically sit on different forums and they can still monitor it. It's just very difficult. So they also need to know where they're going. They need to be watching these different groups or these different sites to be able to trace these people that are uploading disturbing content or selling illegal drugs, weapons, that type of thing, or even data dumps from hacked organizations, that type of thing. So it's a lot more difficult, yet it still is done. It's just very hard to keep an eye on all of the activity that's going on and to trace those that are actually uploading the content.
Mm-hmm. And why can't governments just shut down these sites? Is it because they're on servers that are tough to access, like far away? Or?
Yeah, I mean it's all over the place, right? If you look at the internet, it's literally all over the world, right? So to actually pinpoint where everything is, it's extremely difficult. To find the sources of that information and the people that are behind it.
And how easy is it to access the dark web itself?
So it's not actually that difficult, without going too far into detail. There's browsers like the Tor browser or the Onion Router browser, which is a browser you install on any laptop, desktop. That brings you directly into it. Again, you can use different virtual private networks or VPNs to access it as well. It's the difficult part is, again, knowing how to get to the information that you want to find. So you can on the the surface web or the regular web that we're used to, you can do some Googling and stuff like that to find some of the sites, to get a start. But largely, you already need to know kind of where you're going or have that information given to you.
Is there a future where the dark web actually, is reined in or taken under control? Like, is there some way of, international cooperation that could, eliminate, sites like the one that this couple allegedly posted on is no more?
I suspect it would be a very heavy lift to be able to get us there, just because it's such a vast area of the internet. really the surface web is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. All of that stuff that's below the water is the dark web, and it's very large and very difficult to rein in.
Riley's back now. Riley, I haven't really heard any complaints about the weather lately, but I did see a few minuses on your board, and I just want to say it could be worse.
Could be worse. We did, I will remind everybody, at least at the airport, we had snow on the ground at Halloween last year.
Yeah.
On October 31st, there was 5 centimeters on the ground at the airport's weather station. Doesn't mean there was 5 centimeters on the ground in your backyard, but certainly there was snow on the ground.
And I know there is still some snow up north right now, so we feel you, but we're hoping to stave it off here down in the south a little longer.
The longer range trend is that we will see temperatures like this sticking around till Halloween, so I think we'll be snow-free, at least here in Winnipeg, then. Snow-free for your dog walk tomorrow morning as well. We have Dewey here. Thank you, Pamela, for sending this picture in. You can keep sending yours to talkback@cbc.ca. I don't think Dewey will have to worry about any snow for that morning walk tomorrow. Starting the day at +1 by 8 o'clock in the morning. The sunrise now at 8:05 in the morning, 11 by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we see our sun setting by 6:20 in the evening now. And the time change is coming up, and I'll get into that with your 7-day forecast, just how soon we're going to see that sun setting in the coming weeks here. So remember, the temperatures falling through the day yesterday and some of that rain. Well, that low pressure system now off into northern Quebec, that cold front sweeping through southern Ontario, returning southern Ontario at least from temperatures in some cases the high 20s yesterday, back down to temperatures more seasonal into the teens throughout the day today. Clear skies overnight for much of the province, a bit of cloud hanging around. Temperatures down to -3 and -4 through the Westman region. The Red River Valley and into northwestern Ontario closer to 0, and we do keep mainly clear skies overnight tonight. -1s for Flin Flon and the Pas. Thompson, Gillam, -3s and -5s overnight tonight. And Shamattawa -4 with a few flurries. Some cloud hangs around. We do see a little bit of instability starting to move through northern Manitoba, bringing us a fairly good chance of some flurries or some rain showers, particularly through the later afternoon tomorrow. For southern Manitoba, we're looking at a start below 0 through Westman, at about the freezing mark for much of the rest of southern Manitoba. And again, mainly sunny skies tomorrow. High pressure keeps us mainly sunny throughout the day tomorrow. A bit of high-level cloud makes its way through, and this particular model again wants to give us a risk at least of some showers through the Parkland region. I think that's a very slim risk, if that, and temperatures by 4 o'clock at about 11 degrees. A couple weather photos to show you tonight. These are from Robin, who shot these Monday morning in Assiniboine Park. A misty start to the day with those gorgeous sunrise colors and the geese in the mist as well, getting ready to fly south for winter. Thank you, Robin, for sending these weather pictures in. Keep your fall pics coming to talkback@cbc.ca. Brittany, I've got your 7-day forecast still ahead.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Canada's Sports Hall of Fame got 9 new members today, including 5 Olympians. Each inductee is said to have contributed to Canadian sport through their innovation, advocacy, or expertise. The CBC's Devin Haru has more.
A remarkable morning here at the Canadian Museum of History as we celebrate the 2024 class going into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. 9 new members, superstars on hand. Let's talk about the women's hockey pioneer, Vicky Sanahara, a long career, nearly 2 decades. She won 2 Olympic gold medals and a silver, so many world championships. She's going into the hall. So too is Patrick Chan, the prolific figure skater, wowing audiences for years. He won a number of Olympic medals and world championship titles and national titles. And let's not forget about tennis doubles superstar Daniel Nestor, 1,062 victories in his career in doubles, slam titles, and a 2000 Olympic gold medal. Indigenous sprinter, runner, Angela Chalmers. She was the first Indigenous woman from Canada to win an Olympic medal, bronze in Barcelona. Debbie Brill, a high jumper. She had the Brill Bend named after her. And Kirby Cote, a Paralympic swimmer, 13 medals in her career. They're all going into the hall. On the builder side of things, Alec Nelson, a residential school survivor. He uses sport for reconciliation. He talked about that here today. And Guylaine Demers, a professor, she has studied inequity in sport, finding space for girls and women to play the game they love. And finally, let's talk about Fred Thomas. He died in 1981, a life cut far too short, but in his 57 years, he broke color barriers. He was the first black man ever to play in the CFL, and his family was here, so proud to honor him. This is the best of Canada on hand, and they're taking their rightful place in Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. For CBC Sports in Gatineau, Quebec, I'm Devin Haru.
Still ahead, Riley Lachak is back with a last check on our forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. A part of a historic moment in baseball has now become a historic memento.
On a 1-2, Otani sends one in the air, the other way, back it goes, gone!
That's LA Dodgers player Shohei Otani becoming the very first player in Major League Baseball to hit 50 homers and steal 50 bases in a season with that home run shot last month. The actual ball he hit sold at auction this week for a record $4.4 million or 6 million Canadian, the most ever paid for any game ball from any sport. What remains to be seen is who gets the money. 3 people are claiming to be the rightful owner of the ball, the man who walked away with it, and 2 others who say they grabbed it first. Meanwhile, Otani and the Dodgers are getting set for Game 1 of the World Series against the Yankees on Friday.
So here's a look at your 7-day forecast now, and we're looking at temperatures staying above that seasonal high of 7 as we get through the weekend. 9 to 11 degrees, mainly sunny skies. Winds die off as we get through the day on Thursday. Could see a bit of a breeze tomorrow, but we'll see winds really dropping off. 13s and 14s Sunday into Monday, and then back to more seasonal conditions as we get Tuesday into Wednesday. Some of the longer range models indicating our next best chance of some precipitation comes through the day next Thursday. Okay, I wanted to show you your sunset tracker. 6:07 by this time next week, and then the time changes. And Brittany, we really see the sun setting very early compared to what we've seen before 5 o'clock in just a few weeks.
4:45, hey?
Yeah. Well, it may look like a piece of space junk to you.
But what's believed to be the world's first cello-playing robot has made its symphony debut. Here's tonight's Daily Lift. This robot played alongside the Malmö Symphony Orchestra in southern Sweden, playing a new work specially written for it. The robot combines both industrial robotic arms with 3D printed parts attached to it. It was programmed for this specific musical score by a Swedish composer.
He says the musical score is translated to code and then sent to the robotic cello, describing the experience as liberating. And despite all the excitement, they don't believe that robots will replace human musicians, but it is pretty darn good.
That is very cool.
I wonder if it has to practice as much as I had to practice saxophone.
The practice wouldn't help me. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.